welcome to the Career Corner. My name is Heather Swift, and I'm delighted to be your host. The purpose of the Career Corner is to help people move from career distress to career success and talk about various career and business issues. Today, my guest, René Clawson of Clawson Architects, is also the president of our local Chamber of Commerce, and she'll be talking to us about why you should join and the tips about having a successful small business. René, welcome back to the Career Corner.
Thank you.
So you have been the president for how many years?
I think this is my third term.
Oh, how many are you allowed?
We are seeking candidates. It's a great opportunity to move into a leadership role at this time.
So what exactly does the Chamber help do, and how is it created?
So the Chamber actually started with President Taft, and he went to the business people, the business leaders in the community, and asked them to help him create a group that would advise him so that the government wasn't doing things to impede business, stop business. And today, the Chamber has evolved. The Maplewood Chamber doesn't really have a huge connection to the National Chamber, but we have 140 members, and we are very involved. The government does seek, our local government does seek our opinion on matters with things like the redevelopment plans and business ideas. We just rewrote the variants for home-based business because it used to be illegal in Maplewood to have a home-based business.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, so in 2000 we helped to write that variant and for the books, and we're actually looking at it right now. We had 4 members gather and look at the ordinance because even in the last 13 years things have changed, and we don't want to have people not take office space, but a lot of times when you're getting started you need to work from home, and we want you to be able to have 1 or 2 people to help you, but not running
a whole diner out of your kitchen.
That's right.
That could be a problem.
Well, that one raises health issues, but we're talking more about small business ideas and entrepreneurs.
So when I think of the Chamber of Commerce, I always think it helps small business, but I really don't know a lot about what the benefits are and why should people want to join. So can we talk a little bit about that? I think that might be helpful.
Sure. Well, so when I started my business, my father said, you have to join the Chamber. And it's funny because one of our longtime members and the editor of the Maplewood Matters magazine, Karen Duncan, also said that her father was like, you have to join the Chamber. And when you start a business, that's just what you have to do. And if you think about the Chamber, you think about all these old, stodgy guys sitting around drinking martinis at lunchtime. And I always tell people when they ask me about the Chamber, I said, it's not your daddy's chamber. And a lot of people have commented when they come and they see such a diverse group and a lot of young people that it's encouraging and they decide to join. But the reason to join the Chamber is it really gives your business some credibility. They've done some studies. The National Chamber came out and said that people are 65% more likely to do business with you if you're a Chamber member. And that if you have a leadership role in the Chamber, they're even more likely to do business with you. And I think that just goes to the point that successful business owners are good leaders and they take leadership roles when they're involved in something. So it, makes sense.
And does that help with visibility as far as when people are looking for people to do business with, say photography or something on a local level? Because if you're part of the Chamber, are you on a particular website or you're special marked in that way?
Absolutely. So that's a really great lead-in for a little story about a photographer that joined the Chamber, and she was only a member for a very short time, and we got her name right up on the website. And there was a company that does nursing homes, and they were looking for a photographer in New Jersey to go to some of their New Jersey sites and take pictures of their staff. Because everybody has a website now, and they all want pictures to show you what the spaces look like and who works there, the friendly faces who will be taking care of your parents and things like that. So they looked on the Maplewood Chamber website and found this photographer. And she'd only been a member for a week, and she got this really great, job, very great, great lead, and she did it.
So the nursing home folks actually went to the Chamber
from
website.
North Carolina, went to the Maplewood
Okay.
Chamber because they had the Ward Homestead here in Maplewood, and they needed a photographer for that.
Oh, that's nice.
So the marketing company was out of actually North Carolina, and so they looked at our Chamber website and found that person. So it was really good.
That's an interesting idea, though, for all of us to consider, because when I've traveled, I've Googled the particular location we're going to, but I've never thought of going to the chamber to see who's listed there in that way. That's a good idea.
Well, now I hope you will.
I shall. I absolutely will. So have you gotten business for Clawson Architects or more awareness, do you think, for your personal business being part of the chamber?
You know what? When I took on the leadership role, the one thing that I heard a lot was I came to a chamber meeting and I didn't meet anybody. And I think it's like any group that you belong to or any community that you go to. It's kind of like, going in, walking into, the local pub and saying, no one talked to me. And I think that you have to, we say no, get to know the people, and then like them, and then trust them and do business with them. And if you're coming into the chamber and you think that that you're going to be able to sell everybody something there, that's just a bad networking tactic. And we did that. We had some networking workshops this year. That's one of the things that we've been working on. And we have a big card exchange every year. So we had 2 people come in and talk to us. One was Karen Pashota, who you know, local business. She was the president of the Lions Club, another leader in our community. And Brian Talley, who's a local entrepreneur. And he's just starting out, and he does education. And he came and taught our group about some networking tips. And Rick Gilman also took us into the internet networking and how to get somebody's business card and just take a photograph of it and the different apps that are available and things. But in networking, the important thing is to get to know people. And I think when I joined and I would ask questions, and the current president had a business in downtown, and so when I would go to town to get a coffee, sometimes I'd drop by his office and chat with them about what was going on in town, because you really find out what's going on in town when you belong to the chamber. And
for better or for worse?
Well, both. It's just very informative. You hear about new businesses coming into town. You hear about ones that are leaving. You hear about plans for redevelopment and things that are going to be moving and changing, and you hear about it first when you're a member. So, but back to the story, I used to talk to the president, and one time I had an issue in my office, and I went by to talk to him, and he said, oh, this is what you need to do. And so he was advising me, and I said, well, where do I get that done? And he goes, well, actually, that's what I do. And so I never really understood exactly what his business was. I knew that he was trustworthy. I talked to him a lot. I, liked him. And so then he was like, when he said he could do it, this transaction for me, I was like, wow, okay. Or he said if I didn't feel comfortable with that, he would recommend somebody. So he wasn't really pushing himself. And I think that's important too, that, just because you know somebody, they might not be the right person for you, but if you know them and you trust them, they'll either advise you to go elsewhere or that they'll help you through this, the business thing. So whether it's been issues with how to hire employees or how to let someone go or how to do a bonus structure, or we've had people come in about how sales have changed in the last couple of years. We've had people come in and talk about that. Sometimes we have local people come in, and other times I'm at other networking events and I hear really great speakers and I bring them in. And we've had, all kinds of great talks. We have our meetings once a month. We rotate lunch and breakfast, and we also have we've had a lot of other things going on, like these workshops that are at lunchtime at the library where it's a little more interactive.
That's nice. It sounds like it's a great way to also be part of a community within a community.
Yes.
Especially, I love how Maplewood Village has still been intact as far as having a lot of strong local presence as opposed to the Starbucks and, Baby Gap and all that jazz. Is that still going to remain that way?
A lot of that it doesn't have to do with the chamber. So the chamber supports businesses in town, and we are encouraging entrepreneurship. So whether what business comes to town isn't really our...
That's not under your jurisdiction?
Correct.
Okay.
And so how we do have a role in government is when they developed the SIDs in town, the chamber was given a seat on the...
and when you say SID, what exactly do you mean?
So a SID is a Special Improvement District. Okay. And we have 2. We have the Maplewood Village Alliance, and we have the Springfield Avenue Partnership. Okay. So both of those SIDs have a chair on our board, on the chamber's board, and we have a chair on theirs. And also, the mayor comes to all of our board meetings. And so whenever we have something that's changing, like the new post office site in town, they will ask us, we'll hear about the meetings that we can go to. They're posted for everyone to go to, but sometimes they'll ask us.
Comment about that at all? Are you allowed to share anything about that at all? Or?
Well, actually, there's going to be a meeting. I think this coming up week, you can look on the town website. Okay. But there is going to be a public meeting to finish with the Paul Grogel and his group is doing the master plan.
Okay.
And so it's the third community meeting, and I believe it's on April 4th.
And that's on our local website. We can keep track of when the
yeah,
meetings are.
all those things are there, and I can certainly look and post it on our chamber Facebook page, you know, for you when that's going to be.
Mm-hmm. Great.
So
when you're talking about the idea of the networking piece, you mentioned the person came and said, well, I didn't meet anybody, but it sounds like you also, or this person, I'm assuming, wasn't also extending herself. And such a part of networking in any job and career is really looking at how can I also give back, not just what can I take.
Right.
And you can't just show up and not talk. You know, you kind of need to have your elevator speech and kind of know how could I participate and how could I give something, not just this is only what I want, correct?
Right. Well, I think when people, also when you see people, like I met you in town and I see that, you know, you're very energetic and you've got lots of, you know, fun things to say and everything else, and you want to get to know you. And I think that, again, it's the know, like, trust. You have to be around and you have to get together or talk with other people, and then it's... You meet them at the luncheons and at the breakfast meetings and our card exchanges. Last night there was a quick get-together at Highland Place, and it was just buy your own drinks and meet with the chamber, and just local business people getting together, talking about what's going on, what they're doing, catching up on things. And sometimes somebody will bring something up, and then it might be like, hey, you know what? You need to talk to. And so it's referrals. Okay. And that was another thing that came out actually just in the New York Times, and it's that 65% again. They said that 65% of business comes from referrals. So if you're not out there, you know, marketing and talking to people, because that's what you're doing when you're networking. You're marketing yourself, you're offering your expertise, and it doesn't necessarily just have to be with what you do, but it's about connecting other people and helping them sometimes. Yeah. And it will come back around.
Oh, yeah, it always does. It's good karma. It always comes back. And bad karma sometimes doesn't happen quickly enough, but it follows everybody, whether we like it or not. I think with the idea of, you know, the networking piece and just awareness, because people trust people when they are making a referral. So I think that always makes a difference in that way. I'm even looking for a fence right now, so I'm asking people I know and trust, like, hey, have you gotten a fence? Who should I go? And I'm trying to figure out where do I go for a fence after Hurricane Sandy. You know, so there's a lot of different things that I think people forget that it's easier to help in that way, you know, from reaching out in that way. So
I think there's a lot of things as an entrepreneur that you just don't know about. You know, as an architect, no one told me about business. You know, we had to really learn that. And so we were talking how we're here at the adult school or at the Columbia High School, and the adult school is going on. And that's where I took some of my first business classes. So
that's good.
It's a great opportunity. There's a lot going on in town, and I don't think I would have had that knowledge if I hadn't been involved in the community.
That's great. Well, I'm so glad you are. So we're going to take a brief break here. So stay tuned. We'll be back with René Clawson to talk more about the Chamber of Commerce and some tips for having a successful small business.
Local government, local educational institutions, and local community members all use cable access TV to communicate their message. They depend upon it as an affordable means of outreach. Public educational and government access television empowers local government agencies, individuals, and groups to use the media to speak directly to their constituents in a more direct and cost-effective way. Make sure everyone has a voice. Support your local PEG channels.
Hi, welcome back to the Career Corner. I'm speaking with René Clawson, who's president of the local Chamber of Commerce, and we're talking about small businesses. So René, who equals the Chamber right now? Is it all the businesses that we shop along Maplewood Avenue, or can you talk to that? Who creates the Chamber of Commerce?
Absolutely. So a lot of people think of it as all the shops on Maplewood Avenue, but really it's not. The majority of our membership are home-based businesses, and other, like Woolly Fuel in town is a longtime member. Maplewood Matters is a member. Some of our other members are professionals like Wayne Bass from Bass Chiropractic. I hate to leave people out and not name every one of our members. We have 140 members. But those are examples of
Yeah, our
businesses
show's
that
not
are
long
not
enough for that. We don't have an hour.
So, and they are listed on our website, on maplewoodchamber.org. So we have photographers. We have a lot of home-based businesses. So it's a good way, for people to get out there. There's some web-based businesses that are members now. We also have a lot of financial planners, a lot of real estate agents, a couple architects. Myself and John James are both members. And we have, trying to think of a couple salons and...
So it's a nice variety of
absolutely.
different people in that way.
Yeah.
I would mention, too, being a home-based business, it's a really a nice way to get out, because you do need to get out and network more if you don't have an office per se to go to, or you're not as client-facing, like off the street where people are coming in right away in that way.
Absolutely. It's a great opportunity to meet lots of different people. And I don't think you should always look at every networking event. There's different kinds of networking events that you go to, and I don't think you need to look at every single one as who's going to buy my stuff, or who's going to buy my widget or what I'm selling, or who's going to take me on as a client, as a coach, because it might be that you make an impression on someone and they refer you to someone else.
Yeah.
And that's where a Nielsen study said that people are 4 times more likely to do business on a referral, or to buy from you based on a referral.
Yes, and I love the Nielsen Company. They're one of my favorites.
Yeah. So I think that's why you need to get out there. And if the business leaders are members of the chamber, then that's where you need to join. And it's not just our local community either. We have multi-chamber events. That was one of the things that we were really excited about this year. I happened to go to another event, and I met a chamber president, and he said, "How come you never come to our multi-chamber events?" And I said, "I don't know that we've ever been invited."
Wow. Oh, interesting.
And so it includes Livingston, West Orange, South Orange, Milburn Short Hills, and I would say North Essex, or one of the Essex groups. But they are much larger events, and Maplewood is going to co-host the next one coming up. But those are like quarterly, and big venues. They had one at the Boathouse over in West Orange on the the new Boathouse, McClune's.
Oh yeah,
they had a really nice event there.
Oh nice.
Which was all of the chambers from all over. So it's not just couple people here and there, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times they'll have speakers from local government, like they'll have the county commissioner or something like that speak. So there's a lot of different, you find out about stuff.
It's kind of like getting the inside scoop in a really neat way. Are there ever large business? I mean, New Jersey has a lot of headquartered organizations. Are any of the big boys ever showing up at these things?
Absolutely. We always have, like when you go to the multi-chamber events, or you go to the Milburn Chamber, and you can go to different chamber events. I mean, you can get invited. You don't even have to be invited. A lot of them host their meetings. You can come to the Maplewood Chamber meetings whether you're a member or not. You just pay a slightly higher fee. And so it just pays to belong. It's only $150 for a small business to join the chamber, and that's good for a year. And you get your listing on the website. You get to the monthly meetings and a newsletter, and there's other events that we have. But when you go to these other chambers, there's always the guy who heads up St. Barnabas is there, and a lot of the bigger banks are there. And
oh, neat. So it also could be a good networking for people to not just itty-bitties, but to get exposure and for networking for career purposes and different reasons for that.
The Hilton's there.
Oh, the Hilton? Oh, great.
Well, that's when the Milburn Chamber is much bigger with the bigger businesses because they have some of that.
Okay.
But there's an opportunity to be at those bigger events and the multi-chamber events that we have.
That sounds good.
So, yeah.
That's nice. It makes me want to join.
You should.
I
You
know.
should.
I think I will. So I want to talk about some business tips for small businesses. And you and Marvin are well known in the community for Clawson Architects. And what are some things that you feel you did right from the get-go? And what were some of the hard lessons where you're like, oh, had I known, then what I know now, what would you have done differently?
Join the chamber.
Yeah.
So we joined the chamber. That was the best thing we ever did. So businesses and what to watch out for. Okay, so how about if I share some of the things I hear people saying that I would advise against, not necessarily that we did or anything. So I would say one of the successes or one of the things people say, oh, you're so lucky, like our business just started and took off.
Luck is when skill meets opportunity.
Right,
Yeah.
and so I started actually with one small desk down there at Nelson's garage, and I subletted from the photographer who was down there.
Okay.
And we slowly grew and took over that floor, and then she invited us to stay, and she asked us if we would take the lower floor too. and then the other side became available. And I think a lot of people get seduced by the space. I get a lot of calls from people who have been told that I can help them get a variance or something because I'm an architect with a space. The building department has told them they need an architect to get their space done. And what I hear is they don't have a business plan, and they haven't really thought this out, and they didn't really go to the town first, and they've already signed their lease, and they've fallen in love with the space. And if you have a good idea for a business, there will be a space, and that shouldn't define like your business completely. I think that's one of the big mistakes I see.
So people pluck down the cash for the real estate without having really the capital or the full plan thought out correctly.
Correct.
So they're so in love with, oh, isn't this cute? What a cute shop this would be. And okay.
So I see a lot of that, and not really people thinking, how many cups of coffee am I going to have to sell to pay $5,000 in rent?
Yeah.
You know?
It always comes down to the basics.
Right. So, you know, and I think that's where if you join the chamber, like even as a resident, you can join as a resident. I think it's only $50 to join as a resident of town. And you can join and you can meet other business leaders and you can kind of test some of your ideas on them and talk to them, and you get to know what else is going on in town. And if you're on the board, then you hear sometimes that, you know, we're getting another cupcake cafe, you know, and so how many cupcake cafes do we need? But we're not here to, you know, to tell people your cupcake cafe won't work. You know, that test will be, you know, the test of time and your, you know, ability to separate yourself as, you know, as being superior, I guess.
Yeah, and different, or have some twist on it for that way.
Right. So, you know, they think there's too many nail salons, but, you know, the American way is you can do it if you want to, and if it's allowed legally, then, you know, go for it.
Yes.
So, but I think joining the chamber, you can talk to the real estate agents about opportunities. They know what's coming up, what rents, you know, who might be like closing their, you know, holding their lease until the end, and then it'll be available.
It really sounds like, especially for business owners, that it really does give you a true inside scoop in so many other ways, that it gives you a peek under the tent that you probably would not get just by yourself Googling and just trying to knock on doors. Yeah, not even on the chat room on Maplewood Online. Not even there. Hard to believe.
Yeah, sometimes we hear it a little before that.
Yeah, just a little. Which is good. You got to get your dues worth, right?
Yeah.
For the intel. What are some other things that you've seen besides a business plan and not falling in love with the space that you'd recommend when people want to launch something? How about getting into partnerships? Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, I feel very blessed and fortunate to be in partnership with my husband, because that's just one bank account, so you're not worrying about who did more work or who got, you know, the money. So I think that partnerships are, I would definitely seek legal advice on any partnership I started, because I've seen a lot of partnerships over the years, even between architects, you know, go south. And it's, I've seen, you know, I've heard from other people in the community who have home-based businesses who've had partnerships that have gone awry. And I think it's unfortunate, and it's a bad experience. But I think that's another place where if you're involved in a business community, you can have those conversations with people who might be in a partnership and ask them how that goes and how they worked it out and who helped them write their agreement, and you know, get advice from them.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, any partnership, whether it's marriage, business, that's a big thing to go into. And people do all of a sudden start saying, well, that was my contact, not your contact. And it can be a little hairy.
Well, and even from a business perspective, I mean, there's lots of business coaches in the chamber, but we also have a huge accounting firm. We have RRBB that's right down there next to the fire station, and the new condos that are going in that building over there. There's they're a huge accounting firm, and they've just expanded, and we use them, and it's very convenient to just walk down the street and go see them. And their accountant is our accountant for the chamber is from there. And, you know, they've offered very solid advice over the years for us, you know, in good times and bad, on what to do. So I think that, you know, we didn't start with them, but
you got introduced, and here we are.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting, too, how you said earlier that how people sell and how people shop and find businesses is so different now with the internet.
Right.
And with all the Palm devices and, you know, the World Wide Web, you know, and because, you know, the Yellow Pages, I mean, they're still out there. We still get them dumped on our door. I never pick mine up now. But it's still because we're looking things up right away. So it's interesting to me that you still have advertisers in that publication.
I think phone books are going to be really like one of those things that our kids say, what was that? Our grandchildren probably.
Yeah, in fact, I don't think my kids probably currently now know what one is.
Phone book is.
They know that
They don't sit one on at Thanksgiving.
Yeah. It's a booster.
Yes.
It's basically a booster seat now.
It was before the boosters, before you had to go buy a booster.
Yeah,
you sat on a phone book at the table.
Yeah, you did. Sometimes two, depending on how tiny and how tall the table. But I think, I think it's a great idea, and I appreciate you, coming on to talk about some of these things. Are there any upcoming events in spring you want to mention before we have to go?
Well, one opportunity is, we have it during our meetings. Usually, you can stand up and give a quick, soundbite on your business, like say, "Hi, my name is, and this is my business, and it's great to be here this morning," or whatever. Mm-hmm. And what we're going to do is a little bigger than that this spring, and we're hoping to make it a regular event with the Chamber. It started in Japan, and it's a format for presenting an idea. And what you do is you put 10 slides together in a PowerPoint, and they go on and they roll for 30 seconds apiece. And so after your 10 slides roll for 30 seconds, it's the next person's turn.
Oh, nice.
So what we're going to do is we're going to use that format for people to get up and talk about their business, or an idea they have for a business. So it'll be a good opportunity for people to really have a couple of minutes to hear about your idea, and then talk about it afterwards.
And then move on.
Right.
Yes.
But
yes.
and then there'll be some drinks and chatting afterwards.
Well, that's nice. But people need to have their elevator pitched down. They need to know in 30 seconds.
But it's a little more than an elevator speech, because it's 30 seconds a slide and there's 10 slides.
Oh, that's true. So this is a long elevator ride.
Well, we did it. Marvin and I actually had the opportunity to do something, and I didn't know what it's called. It's called Pechakucha is what it is
God bless
called.
you.
If you want to look it, yes, thank you. If you want to look it up, and it was started for artists and architects and fashion people to share ideas in Japan in this space that this architect had created, and there are events held all over the world. And we actually got invited to be in one in New York for the New York AIA. We submitted slides, and it's a real equalizer because it's the PowerPoint format. And you put your 10 slides together, and we got selected to come and talk about why space matters at the New York AIA. So that was very, very exciting.
Very cool.
We were right there with the big boys. So it was, their slides were no better than ours. They were all colored, too.
Yeah,
It was very exciting. And but I think that's a great opportunity for a small business versus someone like St. Barnabas to get up and talk about their idea for their business.
Yeah, and also, too, people need that exposure, and the practice also is very great.
Absolutely.
So we're coming to a close, and what is your website? We'll have this down here right in front of the camera.
Maplewoodchamber.org.
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 Easy for you to say. Yeah, sounds good. Thank you so much for being on the Career Corner today.
Thank you.
And we'll see you around, and now we know to call you for all the exciting information about town.
Okay.
And thank you all for viewing and tuning in today. We have lots of shows on YouTube under the Career Corner, so check us out. Until we meet again, I wish you much career success.